curiously, in Spanish, happiness comes from felix, which is fertile, abundant, fruitful, not luck, but flourishing. So in my life, this has been something that this difference is I've experienced it in a very real way. There are many things that have happened to me, but that have not defined me. Because if they did, I wouldn't say I am a happy person, because there's been so many, and all of us, the three of us, have told you of the many amount of things that have happened to us that are just, how can you be happy after an accident? How can you be happy after drowning? How can you be happy after going through so many surgeries? Well, I learned that happiness is not what happens to us, but what grows within us.
So if we keep that state of mind of the negative things around this world, we're going to create a hell of our own creation. One thing is understanding what's going on in the world and doing the best that you can to avoid or being part of that behavior, and put yourself aside from that, because it's going to keep happening anyways. And it's not a state of mind where you're gonna say, "Oh, screw it, the world is gonna end and let it be." No, it's just that if more of us become part of those who wants to see the good on everything there is, eventually we're going to gain more power and we can change the world.
Why? Because you just said it. Happiness is a decision.
Yes.
It's a decision I make moment by moment. And life, incredibly, is so giving that it all the time is showing us all the different ways in which we can touch that inner remembrance, that this is always, even every moment of presence, we have the possibility of see the flower, the laughter of a child, the bark of a dog, the singing of a bird, any moment. If this ordeal, if this problem is so important, how could I have gone from this, let's call it suffering, to this joy in just a split of a second? How real is this? This is as real and as intense and as deep as I want to make it. And then I just grabbed my bag of rice, and then I made a decision at that moment. Say, today I decide to be happy.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of In Dying I Began to Live. I am your host, Francisco Valentin.
Ana Cecilia González.
And here, Ingrid Honkala.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to be answering one of the many questions that we have been asked. And this one is one that had been asked in many different forms and ways. And we chose to take this episode to answer that question in whatever form you may have asked. And the subject is how to find true happiness. To start, true happiness, first of all, is a mental state. It's a state of mind. It is based on your desires, your wanting, I want this, I want that, and trying to fulfill that happiness through external forces. However, true happiness, it is from within. And that is the one that you have to look for and search for within your own self. uh, s- taking into consideration that is a state of mind. And with that, I will open the gates of the knowledge of Ingrid and Anna Cecilia to start talking about this subject. Anna Cecilia, please start
Thank
with.
you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here once again. And it is amazing what Francisco is saying. Yes, we're answering these beautiful questions you do. You make us. Please don't stop doing it because it really expands our interests and your and our knowledge of sharing all this with you. So thank you for this beautiful question. How do we find true happiness? And this is, this is something I really I really enjoy answering this question because I've been asked many times, what is true happiness? Is there really, how can you really be happy when look at everything you've gone through? You were born, just everybody, doctors telling your parents you're going to die. There's no way you're going to be healthy ever or enjoy life. How can you really know that you are a happy person? But this question is interesting because when we ask that question is how can you be happy when it's being asked from the lacking, it's
Mm.
not really asking it from the abundance of what you do have, but starting from what you don't have, and that's what makes the difference. So I've been doing some investigation, and I really love looking for the root of words because I'm really very interested. That was something I was taught from my grandfather. Where do words come from? And it's interesting because I share this in our Spanish version of where does the word happiness come from. So it's interesting that in English, happiness comes from H-A-P, which comes from chance, luck, what happens to us. For a long time, happiness has been understood as something that was external from us, something that either arrived or didn't. So if it happened to you, you could be happy because it came from the outside. But curiously, in Spanish, happiness comes from Felix, which is fertile, abundant, fruitful, not luck, but flourishing. So in my life, this has been something that this difference is I've experienced it in a very real way. There are many things that have happened to me, but that have not defined me. Because if they did, I wouldn't say I am a happy person because there's been so many, and all of us, the three of us, have told you of the many amount of things that have happened to us that are just how can you be happy after an accident? How can you be happy after drowning? How can you be happy after going through so many surgeries? Well, I learned that happiness is not what happens to us, but what grows within us. What is it that's really growing within you? So then we understand that happiness, yes, things happen to us, some good and some bad, but it's a choice that we make inside that we're going to keep. So today for me has nothing to do with luck, but with a fertile soul, a life that keeps bearing fruit, that keeps growing inside me. So at the end, it's this is the way I want to introduce it. It's true happiness is always possible, always, in spite of whatever happens to you. And the three of us can show you that it doesn't matter whatever we've gone through, we can still choose to be happy because it is what grows within you that makes a difference. Okay, Ingrid, do you want to continue with this?
Well, I love that, Anna, because and the reason I really, really love the way you bring the process of happiness is showing us that it's possible in the midst of hardship.
Yes.
Because it would be different if we just go and say, yeah, happiness is, and all of us can be happy because blah, blah. But there's there's so much suffering in this world.
Yes.
And it's the idea, how can we bring this thing that we call happiness when I am suffering, when life is so hard, when things are so difficult. So I love that from starting, you're already bringing luck in the midst of so much difficulties. We're here sharing that is possible to be happy. Why? Because you just said it. Happiness is a decision.
Yes.
It's a decision I make moment by moment. And life, incredibly, is so giving that it all the time is showing us all the different ways in which we can touch that inner remembrance, that this is always, even every moment of presence, we have the possibility of see the flower, the laughter of a child, the bark of a dog, the singing of a bird, any moment. And like you say, is how I, I want to see things. What is the perception? What is the idea? How do I want to perceive life? So it's a decision I make moment by moment. And I'm going to share an experience I had, a very simple one, and even can sound a little bit silly, but sometimes in the very simplicity of things actually is where we can find the root of
Yes.
what we're missing, because we have become so complicated. And I love this sentence that says, God is simple, the rest is complicated. We just actually, we think like it's out there, it's in these other so many things, when in this experience I'm going to share with you, so simple, and again, like it can sound even silly, happiness was a decision. So in this experience, I every week or every time I was going to the supermarket, I was looking for a specific brand of rice, because as a Latino and Colombian, we love rice. And there was this brand that I love, but for a long time, there was not the brand I like in the supermarket. So it was like, oh, my brand of rice is not there. So every time I was going, I was looking for this brand of rice. And then one day I'm entering the supermarket and I receive a phone call. And then you know how we are, how emotions take cover ourselves. And I enter the supermarket, and when I received this phone call was something really negative, to say that was something, a big problem that was happening at the office. And in moments like that, when you receive that kind of phone call, is like immediately you feel like maybe the acid reflux, you feel that your world immediately changes. And like Francisco said, it's like we have all these mental constructs, and now is the idea that the world, everything changes in that inner mind and in that inner world. And then I went from just a normal day to, what is my fault, this is happening at the office, the world changed. And then I'm in this whole deal in the phone. And the moment I enter the aisle that has the rice, and for the first time in months, I saw the brand of rice that I was waiting for the supermarket to bring back. And guess what happened? I'm in this whole ordeal in the phone, and then I'm like, and I went and I grabbed my bag of rice and I clenched it. I'm like, my rice. And then I went in this moment to a moment of presence, awareness, consciousness. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. If this ordeal, if this problem is so important, how could I have gone from this, let's call it suffering, to this joy in just a split of a second? How real is this? This is as real and as intense and as deep as I want to make it. And then I just grabbed my bag of rice, and then I made a decision at that moment. Say, today I decide to be happy. Today my decision is joy. Today my decision is enjoy this rice I have not seen in the supermarket for months. And look what happened. We can call it one of those little miracles. It was a weekend. I could have choose to be unhappy the rest of my weekend. But the moment I choose joy, guess what happened? There's something that I guess we talk a lot in many other of our episodes, vibration. I elevated my vibrational frequency. And now I didn't fuel that fire with more problem, with more of, I didn't put more, let's say more wood to that fire. And then that fire ended. And then Monday when I went to the office, hey, it got resolved, nothing happened, blah blah, because I didn't feel that fire anymore. My vibration changed. I was in a complete different state of beingness. So this is incredible what happened when we choose, we change our narrative in the mind, and we
Yes.
choose to perceive things from complete different angle is a
Right.
decision. Okay, what do you think, Francisco?
Oh yes, you're right on point. As a matter of fact, I have a something that I say when something when I want to explain things. I have the tendency to go very extreme. I mean, so people can understand. People can be shocked by understanding the difference from one extreme to the other, and it goes like this. Uh, to help you understand that happiness and sadness is a state of mind. Uh, Imagine 5 minutes of happiness. 5 minutes of happiness go like this. 5 minutes go by and people don't realize that it went by. However, let's go to the other extreme. 5 minutes of torture feels like eternity.
Hmm,
And that's
yes.
what we do many times without realizing that we spend our lives torturing ourselves because how come I do not get this, how come I cannot be happy because of this or because of that. The environment that I lived in is not letting me be happy. I have crappy parents, terrible teachers, an environment that I don't deserve. Well, uh, if I want to go deep into that, I will have to talk about karmic debts and things like that. But that's not the subject here. The point that I want to bring is that we can create our own happiness or our own hell. It's like they say, we're creating a hell of our own creation just by wanting things that we cannot have, and depending or relying on external sources to be happy. So if you are in a rough environment, if you live in a rough environment, just to give you an example, do the best that you can with what you have around you, and try to avoid getting overwhelmed by all the negativity of this world. For example, if I turn on the TV and get all the bad news of this world, I would think that this world is in chaos and in the verge of self-destruction. And many can say, yes, it is. But at the same time, I've heard that story so many times. I remember since I was a kid that the end of the world was going to be in 1974, 1975. Then, I mean, you keep listening to that, and the world has not ended yet. So if we keep that state of mind of the negative things around this world, we're going to create a hell of our own creation. One thing is understanding what's going on in the world and doing the best that you can to avoid or being part of that behavior, and put yourself aside from that because it's going to keep happening anyways. And it's not a state of mind where you're gonna say, "Oh, screw it, the world is gonna end and let it be." No, it's just that if more of us become part of those who wants to see the good on everything there is, eventually we're going to gain more power and we can change the world. That's the way it is. It's just that we need to keep focusing our minds in the good things and not in the bad. Rely on yourself, not in external sources. uh, Let me give you an example. uh, I've heard so many people tell me, "Well, you're blessed, and you should be happy because you are a channeler of higher truth, and you get all these messages, and you must be happy in a happy life." No, no, because I had to go through the process, through the learning process of my first death experience, my near death experience, and all the other experiences that I had. I had to go through them trying to understand, why is this happening to me? Why is it that I cannot understand it? I understand it here, but I cannot understand how to put it in action. And that was a work on myself that made me get where I am today. So it's not a bliss. It's like I've said many times in my live presentations. Whoever tell you that the spiritual world is an easy way, an easy road, is wrong, because you have to dissolve your old self to become a new self. And the dissolving process, it is not is not a happy place to be, but it gives you happiness at the end. So it's a working process what you have to do. Like Ingrid and Ana Cecilia, I had to deal with trying to understand and put in my effort to make it understandable so I can live a happy life. So it's a process. It's not gonna come from heaven just because boom, now you're happy. No, it's a work in progress. So happiness is within you, and it's our job, your personal job, to make of your environment, of your life, of your surrounding, happy world, a happy life, and you living in that world in happiness. And as you become a happy person within that world, other people are going to see you, and some will ask you, or maybe they may not ask you, but they will try to emulate you. So be yourself, the example. Set the example yourself, and you'll see how everything around you is going to change, because it is a state of mind. So, Ana Cecilia, what do you have to say about this?
Mm.
I love it, Francisco. Absolutely. And in a way, we're just saying the same over and over. Happiness is not something you find, it's something you build, it's something you create. So, one thing I've always would like to ask you is that, do you think, not you, but everybody that's listening, do you think happiness will arrive when everything is fine? Of course not. No, not everything has to be fine, perfect. Sometimes never. We will never find things that are perfect. I mean, we will never have a perfect moment to say, this is it. Now I can be happy. So it is really that when we learn, and this is something that I learned since I was a little girl, when you're grateful about things, when you
Mm.
learn to be grateful about what you do have and not from what you're lacking. And when people say that I cannot be happy with all this, you know why it is? Because Ingrid just mentioned it. All of your energy, all of your concentration, everything, you're putting it in what you are lacking, in what's not there. What if
Mm.
we change, like Wayne Dyer said, what if we change the way we look at things? And then the things we look at will change. And that for me is happiness, when we're able to look at things, whatever is happening, whatever you think it's is in the real negative for you, or it is really not bringing you happiness. What if you change the way you look at that? What if I remember I had a friend that said, I don't like when all of my little nephews and nieces come home because they leave a mess in the house. And then I say, well, why don't you look at it like, why aren't you grateful that you have nieces and nephews? Why don't
Mhm.
you, why don't you change that line of saying, thank you. This just shows me that I'm loved and that I have a family and that I have someone around me that I can share my life with. Because she was a very wealthy aunt who had no children, but a lot of family that whenever they came home, she was like looking at it, oh God, it's a whole mess. Well, how much is that mess going to last? Probably 2 days until you pick up everything. But the happiness it brought to you can last forever. So it is exactly on what we concentrate our attention. Where are we putting our attention in? And my body, I think my body was my first teacher because I was lacking a lot of oxygen. I was lacking a lot of health. I was constantly at hospitals. I was constantly reminded by my body that I was not able to do a lot of things. I was not able to run, to play, to ride bicycle, even to laugh. When I was laughing so hard, I got so tired. I just needed to rest from laughing, from enjoying. So, really, it's not about having the perfect moment. After I recognized that my body was one of my first teacher because of the visits to the hospital constantly, the open heart surgeries, the 3 ablations. Even there, even in all that, I discovered that it was feeling alive what made me happy. I was alive. And that was, I love when somebody said, thank you for bringing my soul back to my body, because that means I still have a chance to enjoy it. To even if when I was lying in bed, just by looking at my parents by my bed, just by knowing that I had a daughter waiting for me back home, just knowing that I was able to breathe by my own means, there's so many things to be grateful. So, this is something I want to ask you. What are you grateful for? Nothing, not everything, but some things are perfect for you now. But many things are not going to be perfect for the next hour or the next day or the next years. So it's recognizing that I'm not alone, that there's so many things around me that I can be grateful for. If I put all of my energy and I elevate my vibration, thinking about all the good that I do have in my life, that is when happiness starts. So again, like Ingrid and Francisco have said, it is within you. It is what's growing inside you that's going to make a difference. That's why we've said it constantly. It's being happy is a decision. So what I've learned is to make my scars, anything that has hurt me, become a bridge towards other. How do you do that? Well, just by sharing your story, what you have overcome. Francisco, Ingrid, and I have done this over and over in many ways. Why? It's not that we'd like to remember everything difficult that we went through, but it's how that brought us to the happiness we can enjoy now. And the first thing is just the fact of being alive. And Francisco was sharing a story before we started this about somebody that was so happy that she said, this is it. I've had enough. I'm ready to go. And this is something that it doesn't have to be because you're sick, because you're tired, because you've had enough of this life, but because you have lived your life and you have enjoyed your life up to a moment that you can say, if my life ended right now, I can only be grateful. Why don't we live a life like that? To say, if this moment is when I have to go, I have nothing to regret. And this is the life I've been trying to live since I'm very, very young, knowing that when, like my quote that I love to say, when death finds me, I want it to find me very alive. And being alive is making an everyday choice to be happy. And I invite you to do that. Make an everyday choice to cherish what you do have. Be grateful with what you do have. And this is a very easy way to elevate your vibration, just by being grateful. When you're in a very, very difficult moment, just remember this. Okay, I know this is not easy, but what things can I be grateful for? And then, instead of looking at all the mess in your house, instead of looking at all the difficulties in your health, look at what you do have. And what happens is what Wayne Wire said: change the way you look at things, and the way you look at the things you look at, and everything you look at will change, starting with your happiness. So, what do you think about this, Ingrid?
Anna, this is amazing because look how we connected we are, because we're vibrating all high. Even trying to share all these is like raising the vibrational frequency that I was. You just mentioned this quote, and I have written the same quote, like Louis Hay, Wayne Dyer. I mean,
Wow,
I thought about 10 million other people, and it says, change the way you perceive the world,
connected.
and the
We're very
world.
connected.
Yes. This is what happened. Is like we become that the connection. We build connection. We break the disconnection and build the bridges to reconnect. So this is incredible because we mentioned it in few of our conversations, other podcasts. It's like, instead of thinking this is happening to me, we have come to have the clarity that things are happening for us. Because at the end of the day, we can also bring here the word contrast that I like to use a lot. It's like, how can you know, how can you appreciate happiness if you've never been sad? You wouldn't even know it. You could not even sense it. How can you know health if you've never been sick? How can you appreciate and know, I don't know, the joy and the exuberance, and if you've never lacking or in scarcity? So this contrast of life bring you to be, like you just mentioned so many times, more grateful, more appreciative, and even more sympathetic, empathetic, compassionate, because you know that when it hurts, when it lacks, when you don't have it, you know how others feel. So this is incredible. Without all this hardship, how can we really grow and evolve? How can we really know deeper how it feels for others? So I just think it's like you both mentioned already, is like, how can we in the midst of all this see the good? And I love when Francisco talk about the world, because I always also say that, I says, whose world is that? Like the world, that's not my world. It's the world of who? Because that's the power we have to create our own world. I can create a world of misery, or I can create a world where I can see the purpose, the positive, the growth, the evolution, the good of it. So it's like, whose world is that? And some other thing Anna mentioned, what is your joy? What is your happiness? And for me, I have found that my happiness is in serving. When I help others, when I am doing this that I'm doing with you too, when I am writing a book, when I am speaking, when I am sharing in speaking engagement or in a one-on-one, anything I can do to help others alleviate a little bit of the need for answers, or even that person, of course, is mutual. I'm also learning all the time. So it's like in service, we are offering whatever we have inside that have brought us to clarity and understanding, and we're learning more from the people we're interchanging these experiences with. So it's like all the time, the choices that we make can bring us to just remember who we truly are. There's one thing I ask to people when they're telling me, how can I be happy in the midst of all this hardship? Again and again, that's a question that comes. And I said, how do you feel when you are not angry? And people say, well, I feel good. How do you feel when you are not sad? I feel good. How do you feel when you are not, I don't know, hating somebody or distraught or it, again, it's just because anger is an emotion that is so present in all of us, or sad? Good. So in the absence of all these, let's call it difficult or negative emotions, there's goodness. So I said, look, you can always go back to that place where if you quiet your mind, if you calm yourself, if you are able to create a space and breathe, you go back to that. So look, we can see it clearly in the absence of all these emotions. The base that we are is that goodness. So I remember learning from this beautiful spiritual teacher. He said, and this sentence that always stayed with me: if the nature, if the base that we are, is the root that we are, is joy and peace and goodness and serenity and quiet and just this space of like greatness, then the true question is, what am I doing not to be that? What am I doing to disturb my real nature? So in this case, we're talking about two things: unconditional happiness. That root that we are of, just that peace, that serenity, that spaciousness, that presence, that is when we, Anna and Francisco are talking of go back within. That's the nature that we are. Like, how can we always bring a moment in which I create a space, even in the midst of anger or a hard moment, and go back within to that nature of spaciousness and goodness that we are. And when we talk in terms of conditional happiness, is that idea that we have that happiness is outside. The next car I'm going to have, the next house I'm going to have, the next thing I'm going to have. And guess what? Those things are impermanent. Those things end. And when those things end, then we go back to the place of suffering, because it's like, now I am lacking what I thought I had. So it's like the next car will end and then I will want the next one. So it's like how we go back always just to look within and find. It's like, and like Anna says, and Francis, it's in the process of maybe getting that car or getting that next opportunity, or like enjoy every moment and not wait for the result, because that result is fleeting, that ends, that goes away. So this is just so much to talk about in terms of how can we go back to that inner joy. So I leave you, Francisco.
Yes. Thank you so very much. uh, yes, Anna Cecilia mentioned that I talked to her about a friend of mine, so let me briefly give you the story. uh, because in the end, lack of happiness is lack of understanding the process.
Yes.
In this case, I had the good fortune. Check this out. Check how I see it. I had the good fortune of learning that one of my true transcript followers, a woman who had been reading the transcript for many years, uh, passed to the other side on December the 20th. And I'm saying that I am very grateful and I am very happy for her transitioning, because we've been friends for many years. First, she she learned she we became friends uh, from being my insurance client. Then we keep connected. She learned about the transcript. She began to follow the transcript. Many times we had conversation because she had a hard time understanding the transcript. Let me give you one little detail. She always been a Catholic, a fervent Catholic, and in her early days she was a nun. However, she understood a little bit more higher truth, and we had many conversations about this. And she was reading the transcript and understanding them a little bit better and better. Uh, when she became ill, we started having conversation with her daughter because she couldn't speak that much. She had some difficulties here and there. And one day, her daughter called, texted me, and told me that her mother wanted to talk to me. So I knew that she was ill and she were having physical problems, and she wanted to talk to me. And I said, okay. So we plan accordingly. So when my friend picked up the phone and we talked, the first thing she asked me was, tell me about the transition. So I was very candid with her, and I didn't tell her anything new. I just reminded her of all the conversations that I had when I had the experience of my death experience, how I felt about when I was in the year 2002, when I was transitioning in a near death experience, how it felt, and the experience that I had in the 2013 uh, inward experience, uh, going back to the source, which she understood perfectly. Then I reminded her all the many other topic that we talked about, that it was going to be like a dream. And because she was Catholic and she wanted to preserve her Catholic beliefs, she most likely, when she transitions, she's going to be surrounded by angels and things like that. Uh, so I was giving her that reassurance that she needed. The fact that she chose to speak with me and not consult a priest, to me that was amazing, because she was very clear. And she told me that she understood that she had done her work on this earth plane, and that she was ready to live, and that she was leaving Saturday. So I very candidly, and we laughed after that. I told her, well, enjoy the ride, but wait for me. So when we meet again, we can plan ahead in our next adventure. So we both laughed, and I settled that. But Saturday, uh, about 10:30 p.m., I received a text from her daughter, and the text read, "It's done." I did not think that she was going to be able to make it on her own, but I had my hopes. And what I learned that she did, I was happy, so happy, because I understood, and because I understood that she understood the process, and she was able to let go of the number one attachment, that is the attachment to life itself. She let go and she went on her own. She went to sleep and she didn't wake up. So to me, that moment was a very enjoyable and happy moment. For most people, it is not. And that is proof that happiness is a state of mind. And it is because you understand the process. And lacking of understanding the process is how unhappiness comes to be. And with this, I want to leave you with one final message, that that I think that is very important throughout this conversation we're having, and I'm going to read it to you. And it's a passage that I have always kept uh, and privately recital in my mind. I don't have it memorized. I just recital in my mind whatever the intent behind the words are. And he goes as follow. Please give me the grace to accept with serenity the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom of distinguishing one from the other. This comes in different forms with different in different languages, in different set of tones, and because of that, I chose to keep in within myself the intent of help me understand what I cannot change, help me understand what I can change, and know the difference. So that way, in my mind, I'm always happy with the end result. And I will leave you with that as my final words.
Wow.
Ana Cecilia.
Thank you, Francisco. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I really love it because this really leads me to one of the things that that I wanna mention, which is our purpose in life. And there's a moment in which, when you know that you're in the right path, when when you know you've done what you're here to come to do, that brings you happiness. But then people struggle a lot with talking about, and why am I talking about the purpose? Because I've always struggled with that, with what is the purpose of my life? How can I be happy if I don't even know the purpose of my life? So it goes on and on. And one of the easiest ways to know is, what is it that comes from you so easily that it brings you joy every time you do it? So it's not that hard. It's just something that is born within you, like we say. Happiness is within you. That comes out so easily within you, and it could be painting, it could be constructing, it could be just sharing, it could be so many little things or big things that are part of your purpose. So I think that when this woman that Francisco shared, I'm sure that she said, "I've done my purpose. It's done. I did it. I'm happy with my life." So sometimes one of this is also part of my last participation, that I want to just leave you with these thoughts of, how do we know that we are accomplishing our purpose? Well, whatever you're doing that really brings you joy. And like Ingrid, and I want to integrate this too. What is it that you're doing that brings you so much joy, that also serves others, that also helps others to feel better, like this person that called Francisco? Why did she call him? Well, because she was he was of service to her, and he really helped her to whatever she needed to do. But our purpose in life is not like, it doesn't have to be these amazing things that everybody's going to remember because they're written, because they're built, or because there's uh, thousands of followers doing it. No, it's the purpose of your life is that comes out of you in such a simple way, in such a natural way, and that it not only makes you joyful and happy, but that brings joy and happiness to others. The way we serve others, the way we know that our life has served its purpose, because we feel plentiful with it. We feel that we've done something good that day. So I really want to invite all of you to know that what we've been saying it over and over, that happiness comes within. But again, I was having a walk with my husband this morning, and we were talking, what is it that really you are feeding your inside with? Anything that you expand inside you, is that's what you're going to talk about. That's what's going to become part of your life purpose. So be careful with what comes in you, with your eyes, with your eyes, with your ears, with anything you eat, anything that comes within you. And then you expand it and feed it. And that could be only information, that could be love, that could be the joy of sharing your life with others. But anything that comes in and you feed it and you expand it, that's what you're going to project to the outside world. So just be careful with anything that you feed yourself with in every aspect in your life that you can feed it, because that's what's going to be what's going to be what you eat. Like they say, we are what we eat. And I wouldn't say eating in a literal way. It's not just food, it's not just what you hear or what you see. It's everything that you're bringing in you and that you want to keep and nourish in you. And that's what's going to be expanding inside you and what you're going to give out. So part of being happy, it's also choosing what you want to bring in your life so you're able to expand it outside. And what Francisco shared for me was, it was so meaningful, because when you're in that moment in your life that you say, you know, I'm ready, I've done what I can, and you live your life as if it were the last day, is when you are really accomplishing the purpose of your life. And let me tell you something, this is news for you, or good news for you, is that if you are alive, if you're still alive, there's still something you have to do in this world. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, part of it is bringing joy to yourself and to others, and being grateful. Because just the fact of being alive, it means that you still have a lot to do and a lot to give, even if it's just for 3 more hours. But it's a lot. You can do so much. We try to accomplish in what, let's say, an hour that we're sharing with you, and we try to give you our lives. We try to give you our joy, anything that has brought to us so much meaning. So with this, I wanna leave you with this last message. Anything that it's not about happiness, is not about being joyful, but anything that brings you peace, that brings you serenity, and that you can say, I'm grateful for. That's being happy. Let's make every day a meaning that we can say at the end of the day, I really lived my day, my life, my moment with somebody in the best way I can. So again, and with this is where I end. Happiness is not found. It's not something that we're going to find. It's something that we're going to create. What are you creating inside you? That's what matters. That's what matters. Well, thank you very much, Francisco. And with this, I mean, Ingrid, with this, these are my last participation, and thank you for letting me share. So give us your words now, Ingrid.
This is so beautiful, Anna and Francisco, because it's, this is the feeling of fulfillment in the present moment, fulfillment of each moment. Like Francisco, you guys say, and I am fulfilled even to hear your words. So it's just how we enjoy the present moment, because the problem is when we are attached to what was, or we are expecting with the things that will be. There's so many people that say, when I get married, I'll be happy. When I have children, I'll be happy. When I have money, I'll be happy. And that happiness never comes, because it's so fleeting. Or in the moment that I'm married, now I am thinking about the next thing. So it's just very, very fleeting moments. But having that possibility to find that joy that you mentioned, Anna, that you mentioned, Francisco, and that inner calmness, in that moment with smiling with a child, with enjoying again the singing of a bird, the walking with your dog, is like, how can I make the best of this beautiful flower, of these wings? Is that asking myself that question that all of us are asking. How can I be happy? How can I my searching life? And I think like most of all of us was the search for happiness. And one day I was walking and I was feeling so relaxed, so free, so content, so open that I just, for the first time, is when I had that absolute clarity. This is happiness. It was a moment of so much peace, and the three of us know peace with our near death experiences. But again, you don't have to wait to have a near death experience, just go back to that sense of inner, I guess, expansion, amplitude, openness, relaxation. Just give yourself the candy to the soul. Is that opportunity to just relax, just find appreciation in the things that are around us. And with this, I want to give you a little practice so we can, because people ask to, how can I, Ingrid, yeah, Francisco, Anna, you're saying beautiful things that my life is so hard and I have created such an environment. My life is so difficult that it's impossible for me to find joy in the midst of my suffering. Everything is a process, like Francisco says. Everything needs to go back to the place of peeling layers and allow and give permission to ourselves to rediscover, to reconnect, to remember our inner peace, our inner joy. And there's a little practice that I am sharing because I did it myself. There was a moment in my life I have so many negative thoughts that I was just living a life of suffering. And the way I started, I could not fight these thoughts, because if you fight a negative thought, you're reinforcing it. So the way I did it was through a practice of gratitude and appreciation. And I wrote 3 things that made me feel great. And again, it's going back to the place of simplicity. Something that made me feel great was like, oh, a cup of coffee I drink in the morning. Oh, that delicious shower I just took this morning, or I slept so good with my blankets. Things that are simple. Again, go back to simple. And every time I caught myself thinking something negative, now I made this a game. And then now that I was practicing awareness, because I was like, I'm going to catch myself. And the moment I catch myself, I'm going to have the intention to bring the things I feel great about. So what you do in this moment is you bring to your whole system hormones of well-being. You go out of the system of cortisol and reactivity and just being all the time in stress and nervousness to, it feels good. It feels good. So we start helping also our biology, our physiology, our chemistry to change. And with this change, because we can have all the good intention, but if the body is in the environment of stress, is not going to cooperate. So little by little with this practice, every day I made it. And one day my job was 20 minutes away from my home. And every time I was driving, I made it these 20 minutes be my time of practice. And one day I arrived to the door of my job. And for the first time in my life, I realized the first 20 minutes of my life, I wasn't thinking negative. And then I kept doing my practice, bring 3 things that made me feel so great. Elevating vibrational frequency, feeling good. And then it extended to 30 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. And little by little, I started to feel those layers of narrative, those layers of negativity. And then it was through the intention of wanting to feel good, to see things differently, to allow my system to create change. So again, happiness is a decision. And then moment by moment, hour by hour, and is our birthright. Like I said before, that's the base that we are. There was a day that the beings of life said to me, Ingrid, looking for happiness is negating that you're already that. You are already that. So in reality, when I ask, I want to be happy, I want to be happy, I am negating that I am already the core of that. So the process is just remembering, go back to the root that you are. Oh, and with this, I leave you. Oh, Anna, you're muted. No,
There you
yeah,
go. Sorry, I
Yeah.
just went with what you're saying. There was one quote that I love, and this is that being happy is not a privilege, it's a must. This is part of something we must do. It's like an obligation. I don't know what the word is, but that's right. It's not just a privilege. It's something that it's in our nature. Part of our being here is to be happy. I love
yeah.
that. Thank you.
Oh, this was good.
That is
Very
very
good.
true. They're very true. Well, with this, we conclude this episode of today. I hope every one of you had learned something new or start applying some things that you already knew but you have not applied to. And we highly recommend that you share this with everyone you know. Keep asking your questions. Share it with everybody that you think that might benefit from it. And and let me give you a reminder that we are doing this in English and Spanish, just in case you can handle both languages. And also, if you know a friend that can or will want to do it either in English or in Spanish. Also reminding you that we are in YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and soon we're gonna launch into on WhatsApp a group chat. But we need people to keep subscribing, and keep sharing all this content with everyone. So don't keep us a secret. Keep sharing. Keep watching our videos. We have a lot of shorts out there. Share them. Pass it on. I mean, like I said, and we all have said, the more that we are, the stronger the connection, the faster we can make a change in this world. And if that's what we want to, which is a total yes, let's make it happen. Okay.
Yes.
So I will leave you with that again.
Thank you very much.
Francisco
Thank you,
Valentin and
everybody.
Cecilia and Ingrid. Until next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.